Today I'm reacting to your Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime hot takes. This video is something new I'm trying to give you all and myself a platform to voice our thoughts, whether they're good thoughts or bad thoughts, on the history of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes. The ones I've seen at least. And remember, these are all just opinions, so if you politely disagree, more power to you. But as always, be sure to subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, I'm confident you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload quality Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. Alright, let's get spicy. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX would have been better if it didn't try to ramp up the stakes every season and instead kept the high school for dueling gimmick like Season 1 did. I would have rather they just rolled with the world building because the concept alone is so absurd. In the dub, Crowler brags about having a PhD in dueling. It's dumb, but in all seriousness, what does a doctorate course in dueling look like? I must know. Yeah, this is one I've actually heard quite a bit about, and honestly, I'm kind of split on it. Because on one hand, I actually enjoyed the darker and more story-driven aspects of later parts of the show, Yubel being a standout example of what I mean. But at the same time, I can't deny that the sillier, more low-stakes episodes of Jaden and Friends caused some of the most enjoyable parts of the show. Like, let's be real, GX does not have a great track record with major villains. In fact, I probably wouldn't remember some of them if I didn't have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel. But I'm never gonna forget the times that Jaden had to duel against a Yugi copycat, a tennis nerd, and Bob Barker because of how outrageous and creative it made the world feel. So yeah, maybe if GX had just decided to stick to its guns and remain a more grounded and lighthearted series, I don't think that would have been the end of the world. I enjoyed Arc 5 more than most other series on its run. And good for you, this is not the place where we mock people for liking things. Remember that for when you write your hate comments later. A Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that details what Yu-Gi-Oh! Was originally going to be about, a more young adult-oriented horror series mostly without duel monsters about the king of games, would be an amazing show. You're right, it would be a great show. And I know that because that's exactly what Season 0 is. A more adult Yu-Gi-Oh! Show with very little duel monsters. And better yet, as of the making of this video, all the episodes and the mini-movie are free to watch on YouTube. So go check it out if you're interested after this video. It's hard to take the shows seriously sometimes when I remember that the stakes are so high over a trading card game, especially when most of the main cast only interacts with the main plot by cheering for whoever is playing that episode. Yeah, I kind of feel like if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime fan, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief about all the world-ending threats being thwarted by pieces of cardboard. Like, at least for the original series, it gave an explanation as to why duel monsters was so important, but that's less of an excuse for the other shows. And as for most of the main cast being reduced to cheerleaders majority of the time, I just blame either story circumstances or bad writing. Take your pick, honestly. Carly is the best character in 5Ds. Again, completely subjective and valid opinion. I myself really enjoy Carly. I think she's funny, and I like her relationship with Jack before the second half of the series. Dang it, Yoshida! If Yugi didn't have the abilities to make up any rule in the game, then he would be a low-tier duelist. Okay, I'm kind of tired of this. So I'm just gonna say it once for this video. Yugi does not cheat at duel monsters. He would be cheating if he was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! These are different games we are playing from the anime. Effects are different, rules are different, and if the characters are cheating, the series makes it a point that it is cheating. Duelist Kingdom, everyone was playing Dungeons and Dragons with cards, especially the creator of the game. Battle City, in Joey's duel against Espa, he tries an illegal move, and nothing happens. The game itself knows when someone isn't playing correctly. It never calls out Yugi for this, aka Yugi does not make up the rules. Sorry, just been meaning to get this off my chest for a while. Alexis Rhodes was wasted potential. They didn't focus enough on finding her brother, and when she did find him, they didn't have nearly enough moments of what transpired. Also, focus more on her being a teacher. There was way too much filler. I agree with everything you're saying. I think there was definitely too much filler that got in the way of the plot, especially in Season 2. As for Alexis's character development, which can be summarized as find my brother in Season 1 and I'm not sure about my future in Season 4, neither of which were given the time that they needed. With Alexis and Atticus's relationship hardly even mattering, so much so to the point that she's not even the one to save him, to her bare bones arc in Season 4 where she tries to take away Jaden from Jesse, Yubel, and Blair. But yeah, just overall a massive missed opportunity, which could be said for most characters in GX, let's be honest. Yugi's deck in Duelist Kingdom, with or without Exodia, is actually very strong. Well, Yeah, it kinda had to be. It helped him beat Eliminators, Champions, and the creator of the game himself. If anything, Yugioh was probably just holding him back by clogging up his deck. Studio Bridge, the studio behind Sevens and Go Rush, has been consistently better at handling the anime than Studio Gallop. Okay, so there's two ways to talk about this. Behind the scenes and quality-wise. Behind the scenes, Studio Bridge has been a breath of fresh air. Do you know how many articles came out about the fact that VRAINS and Arc 5 had loads of trouble behind the scenes? From animators being divided, problems writing the duels, to recap episodes appearing so much that someone had to publicly apologize for them, and so far we haven't been hearing those things out of Bridge, which is always great to see. And quality-wise, it's the same thing. Bridge seems to have actually taken notes about the problems people had with Gallop's Yu-Gi-Oh shows, major examples including the female characters writing, the invincible protagonists, and the general lack of a connected story between the shows, all of which have been answered by Sevens and Go Rush. In short, it's everything Yu-Gi-Oh fans wanted out of the franchise, and it still pains me to hear people not give these shows a chance because the art style changed? The main cast is a couple years younger? And Rush Dueling is just Yu-Gi-Oh for babies. I'm sorry, when was the last time the main game didn't give every new player the finger? 5? 10? 15 years ago? Sure as hell hasn't been recently. All this to say, this is my point here. The Yu-Gi-Oh anime has been in the healthiest place it's been in a long time, regardless of your personal opinions about it. And with luck, this will continue into whatever Konami decides the next show is going to be, whether that's Rush, Master Duel, or a lore anime. It was more fun when characters had more random cards in their deck than the more visually streamlined decks future characters had. You lose a lot of design variety that comes with the occasional Beaver Warrior, Saggy the Dark Clown, or Panther Warrior. It's a shame because Yu-Gi-Oh card art is some of the best in the manga, and it's always fun to see them adapt all kinds of monsters into the show, even if the animation pales compared to the card art. Yeah, I totally agree here. I know it's become kind of a meme just how random everyone's decks and duel monsters are, but at the same time, it allowed for more combinations of archetypes you just wouldn't normally expect together. Things like Yugi running Dark Magician, Magnet Warriors, the Egyptian Gods, Exodia at one point. You just never know what you were gonna get. And being honest, I do miss it as it seems to be less and less common with every series. Honestly, I just blame that on modern archetypes having so many different cards that they don't really give you room to mix and match. Oh, but what about Heroes? That's a classic archetype. Heroes have like 6 sub-archetypes. I don't have beef with them. The entirety of GX Season 4 sucked, and the Yugi and Jaden duel should not have been with Atem since it defeats the purpose of the ceremonial duel at the end of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, so first of all, I wouldn't say all of Season 4 was bad. Was it all over the place in terms of storytelling? Sure, but the whole thing? Really? I quite enjoyed the duels and the large focus put on developing characters that the show largely forgot about. Although it is kind of like making the rough copy after you've already finished the assignment, you definitely should have done it a lot sooner. I'm talking to you, huh? Finish your rough copy. And as for the ceremonial duel, I don't think it ruined anything. Because, like, it's clearly not bringing Atem back. Either it's Jaden going back in time, which I don't believe, it was all a dream, which I don't believe, or it was some sort of Duel Monsters Spirit World virtual setting, which I do believe. In any of those scenarios, Atem's memory is still, like, fully intact. His legacy is fine. While I like Yusei, I hate the fact that he never officially lost even once. It makes him lose his value as a character, as I can't cheer for him. Yuma and Jaden did a much better job at this, with Yuma never beating Kite, for example. Honestly, you could say that every protagonist did it better, as they all took official losses at one point or another, minus Yusaku. Now, for the elephants in the room, I know that Yusei lost to Jack before the show started, but we never even saw how Jack beat him. And as for Callan Kessler, who was once Yusei's friend, but was then his enemy until he wasn't, the entire community pretty much agrees that Yusei lost their first duel, which is good. My only problem with it is that Yusei doesn't take another loss in the entire show, even though there was still over 100 episodes left. Dang it, Yoshida! Now, I don't care what story you're writing. If your main character isn't allowed to lose more than once on screen for a show that lasted over 150 episodes, you're doing something wrong. Or you're writing One Punch Man. VRAINS character designs go too far and feel clunky and over-designed near universally compared to something like Zexal or most Arc 5 designs. The random zigzag stripes of clashing color on so many hairstyles bugs the hell out of me, and most of their weird cyber jumpsuits are less appealing to many than clothes real people would wear from the earlier shows. Yeah, I get that. I feel like once you remove all the likelihood that anyone but really dedicated cosplayers could actually wear what you're wearing, you kind of lose me a bit with the outfits. And VRAINS is definitely the guiltiest of this. I mean, they're not even clothes, they're avatar skins, which while it does make them look like pretty cool superheroes, you kinda lose some of the more practical elements in the process. Jaden got boring after he joined with Yubel. Professor Banner got screwed. Tristan is irrelevant to any plot. Crow served no purpose after the Dark Signers arc. Damn, bro really woke up and chose violence. But let's go through these one by one. Jaden got boring after he joined with Yubel. I would say Jaden is understandably a more stoic and mature character compared to before, but I will say he was much more entertaining to watch before fusing with Yubel. Professor Banner got screwed. Yeah, bro is a great character and a decent person, but by the end of the show, he just ends up as Jaden's travel buddy and occasional food for Pharaoh. He doesn't even get his body back. Tristan is irrelevant to any plot. Hey, that may be true, but I still like Tristan. He was funny in Season 0, and I liked his dynamic with Joey and Duke, and I found his crush on Serenity to be kind of adorable. Crow served no purpose after the Dark Signers arc. I'd honestly say that Crow served no real purpose during the Dark Signer arc outside of stealing other people's spotlight. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds would have used ritual monsters instead of Synchros if ritual monsters were actually in the extra deck. Prove me wrong. I won't prove you wrong. You know why? Because this is my hot take. And yes, I truly do believe that if ritual monsters had just done their job and were actually good, Synchros would have never have needed to existed. Because if you think about it, every extra deck mechanic since Synchro has been seemingly trying to improve a past mechanic. Synchros are just rituals but in the extra deck and with tuners instead of spells. Xyz is just contact fusion with more generic materials. Pendulums, although not as direct, could be a spiritual successor to Trap and Union monsters. And Link is just tribute summoning, but now you can do it multiple times a turn. You'd think that would make it cooler. It does not. Unless you're playing Rush, then it's alright. And just like I had to specify with Crow, I do not hate most of these mechanics. I grew up with not only the original show, but Zexal too. I have a deep fondness for the first 4 summoning mechanics. I just believe that if rituals didn't flop as hard as they did during their first few years, you know, needing on average 4 different cards in the hand to summon a ritual monster with an effect, then I truly do believe that Yu-Gi-Oh! As a game would not have stepped into the realm of being so complex that you need a PhD in dueling to understand it. And if you want to watch something Yu-Gi-Oh! Related that doesn't need a PhD to understand, watch this video right here. It's one of my highest viewed ones ever. That's how you know it's a good one.